Hello and welcome to another episode of Froch on Fighting with me, Carl Froch. Before I introduce my special guest for today, don't forget to hit the subscription button, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Right, this week we are joined by the one and only Barry Jones. He's a brilliant boxing pundit. I've worked alongside him on a couple of occasions, and happy to have him on the show. How you doing, Barry?
Yeah, I'm okay, mate. Thanks for the fantastic little introduction there. I feel especially by a Hall of Famer, of course. It's not, let's get that in early. No, Hall of Famer Carl Froch.
I was going to build up to the Hall of Fame. Now you've killed
I know. I do it on purpose. Every time I see you, I get it in first. You can't build up and you can brag about it. So I like to get in there and just squash it quick.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward, actually. Won't be long, June 8th, I'm going out there. And I'm joined now by Rob McCracken, my coach. I was taking my wife, Rachel, out there. She was looking forward to it. Then I had to let her down because we can't get anyone to look after the kids. And then I was taking one of my best mates, and I don't think he can get in because he's got a bit of a criminal record. He's a good kid now. He's like over 10 years. I didn't want to risk it. And I spoke to Rob McCracken the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll come with you, and we'll have a laugh." So I'm really looking forward to it now to be going out there with Rob. He was my coach from my whole career, so it's important for me to.
I think that sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Makes sense that he would. I think that's quite nice that he does nice little story tag there that he goes with you because you did it all together and
absolutely
and you get to appreciate what you're receiving. And
to be honest, I didn't want to bother him. I didn't want to, because I know he's up at the EIS in Sheffield, and he's got his missus and kids down in London. And he's just up and down the motorway. When he's up at the EIS, he's madly busy. But yeah, I kind of asked him, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll come out there." I was quite surprised, but pleasantly surprised. So it's all good, mate. It's all good.
But let's talk about me now.
Yeah, what's the crack now, anyway?
So now we're going to talk about the transition from fighting to working in the media.
Yeah, have you found that, Barry? I kind of only was introduced to who you were on, I don't know if it was a Sky show or BBC radio. You might be able to. When did you first meet me, actually? And how have you found the question? How have you found working now in the media after finishing?
I think the first time we worked together, I think it might have been a weigh-in in a Sky weigh-in show in maybe Box Pulev, maybe something like that. Yeah, maybe we were in the studio there, but yeah, well, I think my transition was probably more unique than any other because I had 10 years out of the sport, so I sort of retired in 2000 and then just drifted away like most boxers do, and then I got dragged back into it through Box Nation, which is now a channel that no longer exists, and yeah, so it was sort of 2000 and. Oh, it's got to be like 2014, something like that, maybe 12, 13.
2014, you started as a pundit after 10 years out. It's quite unusual.
Yeah, more than 10 years. It is quite unusual. Yeah, and I didn't want to do it because boxing is such boxing at any level you box. The euphoria of doing it, having your name called, whether it's by 1,000 people or 80,000. Oh. whatever. I get that in as well.
Get that in.
There's going to be a sharp little pigs at the cobra.
but whatever it is,
I'm going to refer to myself as a cobra from now.
Yeah, third person is always a good look. But I think that it's you're going back to a normal life can be a little bit of an adjustment. So I didn't want to get my little 15 minutes of feeling great again, fame, if you will, and then go back to my normal job, which is working in school with kids, which is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah,
but then when I started to do it, I enjoyed it. I didn't find it too difficult, and also you're back in the boxing's your first love for any boxer who's been successful. No, not financially. I mean, winning things. Once you start winning stuff, whether it be a schoolboy, youth, senior, or professional, it's addictive and it's a feeling you can't replace. So to be involved in the sport again. And just be close to ringside and watching fights and getting to give my opinion was the closest thing I could get to that. As you must feel yourself, it's the closest you'll never get that buzz back again. It's impossible. It's
just for the listeners who aren't familiar with you. I'm sure many of them are because it's quite a small community boxing. It's quite tight. But what was your career highlight as an amateur and a professional?
As an amateur, I turned pro at 18, so I was young. I won a European silver medal when I was 17, and that was the biggest thing I did. I turned pro.
It's a really strong achievement. That is. I mean, my career highlight was the World Championship bronze medal in the World Championship.
Belfast.
The Europeans are quite, if not more difficult than the world because the worlds are usually won by a European, aren't they? A Cuban or a Russian or something like mine was
Yeah.
when I boxed.
So yeah, and I turned pro young. I turned pro quite young, and then I did it in the small hall shows, not a big promoter. I was boxing at home, but getting paid peanuts. My opponents were getting more than me, so I could box at home. But I was selling tickets and building up a fan base. And then and then I won a WBO world title in '97 at 3.5 weeks' notice. At a weight I didn't belong at, but I won it.
3.5 weeks notice for a WBO
Yeah.
title. And what weight was that at for you?
It was super feather, but I was a career featherweight really, but I was really a super bantamweight. I didn't want to box a super bantamweight when I first turned pro because there was only like 6 fighters in the country at super bantam. So Howard Winston was a Welsh hero of mine, and he was a featherweight champion of the world. So I wanted to emulate him as a British champion, not a world champion, a British champion. Our aspirations were different back then. And anyway, I got a bit of a rub of the green. I got a bit of luck, and I got opportunities, and I took fights at short notice. And I was the away fighter quite often, even though I was undefeated. I was always, taking fights at late notice and the away fighter, and I just kept winning. And then I got the world title shot, and I didn't box a great guy for it, I have to be honest, but I won it. Became world champion. I had a problem with my brain scan straight after that, so I didn't get a chance to defend it. And then
was that the end of your career then?
No, it wasn't, because there was a change in my scan, and they didn't know what it was, to be fair. So they did the right thing by saying you can't fight. Then the British Box Board didn't really do the right thing by not really investigating it properly, but I did. And thanks to my promoter as well, Frank Warren at the time, who helped get the barrister and the doctors involved, and got my license back. And then I boxed a fellow called Acelino Freitas to get my license back.
Great, I remember that.
Yeah, he was too good for me. I got to be honest. He battered me from pillar to
Very
post.
strong, good fighter. Was he Mexican or was he like
He was
Puerto
Brazilian. Yeah.
And then he was bang onto it.
Yeah, he put me down. I'd never been down on the floor in my entire life. Amateur, pro, sparring, never been knocked down. And he put me down 6 times in 8 rounds. So
really, he kept bad as it all.
I put him down first.
Which was a mistake. I'm gonna have a look at that fight. Anyone who's not seen that, Frazer, get on YouTube. I'm gonna have a look at that.
Yeah, it's a good. I had to go. I got up 6 times, but I got battered, and my father threw the towel, and I finished on my feet. So, but I wasn't good enough, and then I'd had enough by then. I was done. The politics of boxing.
The personality you've got and the character that I know you are, I can see why you got up 6 times, because I can tell you a lot of fighters refuse to quit. There's some of them that will actually quit. Like I give Ryan Garcia a bit of stick last week. I don't know what you think about that body shot and staying down and jumping up on the 9th second and then walking around. But I mean, that's a different subject. In fact, what do you think of that? Do you think I'm right? Did he quit? Did he not quit?
He did quit, but I would say about quitting. I quit. I mean, I was on my feet, and I could hear my dad saying I'm throwing the towel in. I couldn't fight back. The fight was punched out to me. It was, but I still quit.
But that was at the end of a very long career.
Well, it was a long fight. It was a hard, long fight, and I got battered. But either way, at some point, we all have a point. So we all have a limit. Some limits are longer, bigger than others, and and your limit's your limit, and that was his limit. The limit, it wasn't great, and he could have got up, and he might learn to, and I think he regret it. But your pain's your pain. We can't feel it. I don't beat up on people anymore, but I do say, you've got to accept the criticism when you do something like that. I don't kick the boot in, because I didn't know what that body shot felt like. But I've been put down by body shots. I remember the first time I got that was Freitas. The first shot was a body shot. It popped my rib out my cartilage. And the first shot was a headshot. The second shot was a body shot. And you could see the grimace in my face. You could see the pain. But then when I heard 7, the panic, that pain went to panic, because I realized that I was going to get stopped. So I had to get up. I just couldn't, I'm immersed in, it's like you're immersed in your own pain. You forget where you are. And then you realize then, I'm in a fight and I don't want to lose. That's all was in my head. I don't want to lose. And every time I got knocked down, I kept thinking that. Theoretically, I couldn't win. I mean, I would have had to have had 25 rounds to win that fight. I was so far behind, but you don't feel that when you're in the ring. You say, I got to find a way through. And then other people like you have power and that raw strength to get through fights like that of adversity. All I had was skill and speed, and it wasn't enough. And you are what you are. I did the best I could do, and it wasn't good enough on that night. But I retired then, because it was just the politics of sport. It was never a business for me, Cal. I wasn't earning money you were earning. It was never a business. It was always about the love of the sport and to be the best I could be, whatever that was. Once it became about the money, it bittered the taste for me. So I didn't want to fight anymore after that.
So when you had that last fight, was that your last fight? Ashley Freitas, was that it?
Yeah,
Game
it
over?
was. Yeah. And it wasn't the loss. I was never ashamed of losing.
No. After that, then what happened? What did you do for 8, 9? Before you then got back to Wanderer? What the day-to-day run?
I took my biggest payday and I rather than invest it, I moved to London. Why wouldn't you? I spent my money in 2 years. But it was I had a different life, and then I didn't do anything for a while. Thought something would come my way, and it never. Then I decided I had to get a job, and I started doing security for the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent.
I thought you'd moved on a bit. Security for the X Factor.
Yeah. I did all that. I moved. You got to move at some point. You got to move on with your life, and I did. Before that, I ran a pub in Twickenham for a while, and a strip club.
There's a landlord.
Yeah, I ran a pub and a strip club.
That's why you got personality and you're easy to get on with. Because I grew up in pubs from the age of 15. My mum's a landlady and my stepdad. And you need to be a certain personality to be able to run a pub because you've got to be able to speak to
don't drink.
Walk to life.
I don't drink, and I found it difficult being around drunk people all the time. So
yeah,
anyway, I did it, and it got me through, and it got me, got me some sort of grounding. And then I moved on for that, and I started working in schools with underprivileged kids who were struggling in schools, doing a thing called self-esteem through sport, which is great.
Yeah.
And then Box Nation opened up, and I got my little gig there, and that just grew. To be honest,
Box Nation was Frank Warren. That was his new TV channel on.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. He had a little TV channel. And Steve Bunce had the box.
Steve Bunce,
he was a long time friend of mine, Steve, and he had a little an hour segment called Bunce's Boxing Hour.
Yeah,
and they pretty much they were getting fighters from the 90s nobody knew. That's what it was, and I fitted that bill because they didn't have to pay us to go in. And I went in and I told my story, and the night I won the world title, and Jim Bentley, the producer, we've all know him, of course, but he invited me back.
That now, isn't it? So Jim Bentley,
he was Box Nation, but he was before that Santanta and before that BBC.
But,
and that was it. Yeah, and then I just rolled on from there. I started to be a guest every now and again. Then I did commentary.
Yeah,
and then actually my first night of commentary was Ricky Burns defending challenging for the WBO lightweight title. He was the former super featherweight champion.
Yeah,
and he boxed Paulus Moses, if I remember rightly. Right, and I went up to Scotland as a pundit, to do the studio, and then they said, "No, you're commentating." I'd never done it before, and it's totally different jobs. And I was really nervous, and I wasn't going to do it. I was going to walk away.
Yeah. Well, when you know boxing and you understand the game technically, and you can sort of say what's happening, but not what people are seeing, but understand why someone's on the front or why they're jabbing and boxing, why they're moving, and who's winning. And obviously, because you box, I can imagine you was very good. I bet you enjoyed the commentary, didn't you?
I did, but it's different. It's different because being a pundit or analyst in the studio when you're camera facing, you get a chance to watch the fight and digest it, and also you get 30 seconds or a minute to talk about it because there's 2 or 3 of you, as you know. But commentary is an instant reaction on TV commentary. It's an instant reaction all the time, and you can't take back what you've said, and you're trying to. And also, I got a strong accent, and I talk fast because I'm from a city where people talk fast. So you're trying to slow down what you're saying. You're trying to make your words clearer, which I struggle with, of course.
You've got a good lead commentator. I did a lot of work with Adam Smith, and he's quite a good lead commentator. I think he carries you, and then when you need to come in with your technical analysis. I'm sure he was great. I just want to rewind it quick. So when you retired, you said you made a bit of money, and then you had 2 years in London. I know I'm going backwards, but you said you spent all your money. What did you do for 2 years? Was you not working? Was you just kind of living the dream? What was you up to?
My ex-girlfrine was a dancer, so I moved to London for her. She was a Cardiff girl. But she was getting work in. I said, "I'll just come with you." Who cares? I'll just go with you. I'll adapt. And it was madness because one of her friends was engaged to Jenson Button, so we go for meals with. I don't know Jenson Button. But we go for meals there with them now and again, and it would be a fortune. I couldn't afford to pay, but I'd pay for it. And I was renting out a flat in Hammersmith, a lovely area, but it was costing £1,500 a month back in 2000.
Yeah, it's
the money, and I'm not. It's just going to go. And I didn't earn fortunes, by the way, so it was going to go. But you're young. I was young. I retired at 20. I had my last fight at 25. I retired at 26. I was a
it's amazing, that.
Yeah.
I suppose you have the brain injury to think about as well.
So just going back to the punditry, Barry.
Oh, I'm Rachel.
Just going back to the punditry. What is your favourite thing about being behind the mic? And have you got a story for us, maybe, to tell?
Yeah, it's just you're around the sport. You know, I've been privileged to be at Golovkin Canelo twice. You know, and the commentator on those fights for British TV, and their moment, you know, just to go to those fights, go to Vegas and experience all that stuff. That, you know, fighters like you, Cal, are going to get there.
Who's working on that one?
One was Box Nation, the first fight, and the second one was
Right.
BT Sport. So I've
BT
literally
Sport,
worked for every channel that show boxing in the UK.
Right.
The only people I haven't worked for is Talk Sport on a live event. I've worked for Talk Sport, but not on a live event. I've worked for every broadcasting outlet in the UK that I've shown boxing.
So you're like the whole of the broadcast world, aren't you?
I'm a nomad of boxing media. Yeah, pretty much. No one wants to give me a home, but I get enough work to survive. That's all I want.
They're all freelancing now, doing your bits and bobs, what you do. So that's one.
Maybe, but I'd rather be. Listen, I got a mortgage. I want a regular wage.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So,
I'll tell you what, when I retired, I had a fantastic time with Sky. I retired in 2014 and went straight into Sky, largely because of Adam Smith. He was a big fan of mine, big friends with Adam.
Yeah.
And he was one of the reasons I got back on Sky as well. I had a big chat with him before kind of changing promoters and moving on with Eddie Hearn and getting back on Sky. But yeah, and then after I finished boxing, it was really easy. It was like a real natural transition for me to get straight in. But I did a lot of the big fights, like the Mayweather Pacquiao and virtually all of the early part of AJ's career. Kell Brook, Tony Bellew, David Hay. I mean, it was just a great time, and you don't appreciate it till it's over. But you know, traveling around ringside and going to all these big fights. I remember doing Canelo, Daniel Jacobs in America, and when I saw AJ and Ruiz in New York. You look back and you think, bloody hell, it's done all them fights, like the Mayweather stuff. It's just amazing when you look back. And now I don't know, the landscape's changed so much. Things have got a little bit more digital. You've got different platforms. You've got BT, you've got DAZN, Sky, and then even Channel 5 are doing bits. And then obviously we do bits with BBC Radio 5 Live. It's just, I don't know, the whole game's changed and the whole game's changing. And I'm enjoying it. Well, it is nice. I can see from your point of view, you want some kind of guaranteed income every month. So you can say, right, this is what I'm doing. This is where my money's coming from. If you're just kind of hustling and bustling and trying to nick a bit of work here and there for want of a better term, then it must be quite daunting for you.
Well, every month, like for everyone else, every month I don't know what I'm doing 1 month to the next, you know, but they fill up. But also, sometimes you've got to take a little step back and remember what you're doing, where you are, you know. And I get to go to so many different shows. If you're stuck with one broadcaster, you only get to see. When I was doing Box Nation, it was only Warren fighters. Now I don't do BT Sport anymore, so I don't do Warren fighters, ironically. But I do Channel 5 with a fella called, do you know him, George Groves? I work with him. Yeah, you met him, haven't you? And nice kid, lovely kid, lovely hair. And
he said the hair.
His hair,
lovely hair. You go.
Sorry to laptop ago people's hair.
I'm having mine next week.
Come back, isn't it?
All I would say about George Groves, and he's a lovely guy, and he's really good at his job, is if you were going to get my hair done, you get a different color, wouldn't you?
Oh.
Listen, if I could,
I'm not going to possibly comment on that.
No, if I got no hair. No,
strawberry blonde. I love that color. Don't know what your problem is.
I want to get my knees done. I want to be taller. It's an operation. You get your knees done. I can be 5'9".
So what do you both think about the situation between Fabio, Wardley and Frazer Clarke?
Yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't mind getting your take on that, Steve. So Fabio Wardley and Frazer Clarke, he's called for purse bids. I'm not 100% sure how I ended up getting called for purse bids because they were supposed to fight for the British title, which, am I right in saying Fabio Wardley's got the British title?
Yes, he has. He's the champion. Yeah, he beat Dave Gorman for it.
But it's transpired, after listening to Ben Shalom from Boxer, it's transpired that he kind of didn't think that Frazer Clarke was ready. But all the talk and everything that comes from Frazer Clarke is that he's really confident and he's had a great amateur career, which he has, and he's getting on a bit now. He's getting old. He's well into his 30s. And he needs to kind of make a move. So how old is Frazer Clarke before?
I think I'm not quite sure. So I think he got to be about 32, 33.
32, 33, yeah. So only 30. And you kind of need to make a move. And when you've had such an extensive amateur career and you've boxed at world level, then you think you can jump straight in. You'd think you'd be able to jump straight in with someone like Fabio Wardley. I mean, people call him a white collar fighter. He's obviously better than that because I think that's where he started the game off, doing a bit of white collar. And yeah, I think that'd be a great fight. I think Frazer Clarke should be confident enough to jump in there with Wardley, but it seemed to have come out that his team and his promoter or his manager, whoever looking after him, have said, certainly Ben Shalom has said, we want to take our time with him. We don't want to jump in straight away with Wardley. Is that what you're hearing? Is that kind of your take on the event?
Pretty much, and I got no argument with that either. If you don't think he's ready, that's fine. If you don't think you're ready, that's fine. It's not saying that you're scared. It's not the fighter to be scared of anybody, but if you don't think he's ready in his development, the problem. The thing about taking an opportunity is you want to know you got to be right for it. So they're getting just because he's been in the Olympics and he's been around the Olympic cycle for 3 of them really, but you want to make sure you're right. It don't mean you're ready for it yet because you've had his career he should have been boxing more regular, being an Olympian and a heavyweight. You want to move him, get lots of fights just to get used to the training camps and also training for 10 rounds, even if you're not doing them, is very important, and for 12, of course. But I do think
definitely like to see him get pulled over.
They should have pulled him out. Like at some point, they could have, I think you have to nominate yourself to be nominated. You have to put yourself forward to be nominated as a challenger. I think. I'm not sure if that's right. And if that's the case, why would you do that? I mean, it went too public and then go to purse bids and then pull yourself out. I think you could have done that a long time before. And then it looked, because it's a bad look for Frazer. It's not Frazer's fault. It's a bad look for him now because it looks like he's ducking Fabio Wardley. And Fabio Wardley will do what all boxers will do and make out that he's being ducked. Yeah, because that's what you would do, wouldn't you? You want to build a beef now, so it might be a bigger fight down the line. But
well, that's the one positive that could come out of this: the fact that the fight nearly happened, everyone was talking about it, and then it's not happened. So when it eventually does get made, it will be a bigger. So always in that sense.
But I do agree with you. He's in his weight division. Age is not a bigger factor than his other weights. But I do think that waiting around too long, he hasn't got time on his side. He wants to get to world level.
If I'm managing or training him, I want to see him in a 10-rounder at least once, and just to see how his gas tank is and how he's throwing punches after round 6, 7 when you start to get tired, rather than before he jumps in for a British title and potentially gasses out, because you hold your breath a little bit. Your breathing technique's wrong. It's okay sparring, it's okay competing international, boxing for the Olympics, but you start when you turn pro, then bloods are smaller. There's no head guards. The body shots hurt a little bit more. Never go down to a body shot though. But, you take them shots on the chin and you can feel it. It'd be nice to see Frazer Clarke in and get a few more rounds in the bag. So I get that. But I think he does need to. He's saying all the noises that would allude to the fact that he wants to become a British champion and a world champion. And if he does, he needs to be taking these fights for Fabio Wardley, as far as I'm concerned. So hopefully that fight happens sooner rather than later.
I think so. I think he should have took the fight. I think it's a fight. It's a winnable fight. It's a hard fight for him. I think Fabio Wardley been a bit of a revelation. I think he's the movement he has for a big fella, because he's bigger than what he looks. Fabio, he doesn't. He looks big, but actually when you go next to him, you go, actually you're not just tall, and every part of him is big. His forearms are massive. He's a big lump. So to keep the movement he has, how fluent he is on his feet for a big lump, it's quite impressive. And that's where you get the power, you get the whipping the shots, and that'll be a problem for any heavyweight, of course. But Frazer, has boxed every style you could think of, going through that amateur system. So nothing will phase him. And Fabio will start fast. So I don't think it would be a 12-round fight, because he'll start fast because he has power. So I think it would be, a short, explosive fight. I don't think it goes past 6 rounds.
Someone's getting knocked out, you reckon? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So I think so. Yeah. So I think it's a fight you should take. You bet on yourself. But if they're planning, they invest a lot of money into Frazer Clarke, so they want to get it right. I understand that, but this should have been done. He should have been excluded from that conversation of being nominated for the chance to fight for the British title. We don't want it yet, and maybe that if you can do that, which I think you can, that should have been done, and then there wouldn't be an issue here now. Now it looks like to the public that he doesn't want to fight Fabio Wardley, which is clearly not true.
Did either of you both ever get talked out of fighting anyone?
I did once in South Africa. I was going to box a fellow called Cassius Balue. Not so much talked out. I was trying to get Con to take the fight, and then I got told the guy's record, and then I got talked out of it. So it was rubbish money. I was young. I was like 19 to go to South Africa in like 3 days. It was I fly out in 3 days before. I got to South Africa, box this kid whose record was apparently at the time, I was told he was, I think, won 7, lost 4, knocked out 1, but he was 14-0 with 11 knockouts, and he was a 6 foot featherweight. So I had no power. I had to outbox you, so I was never going to win the fight. But I still was going to go because it's a fight's a fight for me. But I got talked out of it. Yeah, luckily for that reason, that you said you're going to go there. Even if you win, you're not going to win. And the chances are you might not win anyway, So, and I didn't care about losing, but I just think, why would you want to go over there? Nothing, everything against you. And that's probably the only fight I've really turned down, if I can, off the top of my head.
I think for me, 2 fights. One of them was, is it Donnie Stevenson, right? Anyway, who knocked out Tony Bellew?
Yeah, Donnie Stevenson, yeah.
So I don't know if he was at super middleweight for a bit. He must have been.
He was. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was. So he was, I don't know if he was IBF champion or if it was both kind of around the IBF mandatory, was like number 1 and 2 or number 2 and 3 below Butte. And there was a time when I was potentially going to fight him, and it was not until quite a few years later, because Rob McCracken would never let me know that actually I don't think you're ready for him yet, or I don't think you should fight him because it's a dangerous fight, like big risk all over reward. But yeah, Donnie Stevenson would be one for me. At the time, I think Rob McCracken looked at that and thought, actually, I don't fancy Froch in with him. I know Froch is tough and he can take a punch. Well, it's not a big fight, so like I said, and it wouldn't have been for a world title. I think it was an eliminator for the IBF. So I still don't know to this day, but Rob did say we kind of swerved around it and went a better route, and ended up fighting Lucian Butte for the he was IBF champion at the time. And another again, one, I trained in Fort Lauderdale, just very quickly, if I can just say, I trained in Fort Lauderdale, north of Florida in America, for 6 weeks with Howard Eastman, before Howard Eastman fought Hopkins. Remember Howard Eastman fought Bernard Hopkins?
Yeah.
So I was there for 6 weeks with him and training for that. I was supposed to fight a guy called LeBron Andrade, just a name that you've probably not heard of. I know Mikhail Kessler beat him in I think it was 8 or 10 round, but quite a close fight. He was a tough kid from America. I think he was Mexican, super middleweight Mexican, LeBron Andrade. I can remember listening to Rob McCracken on the phone to my promoter at the time, who was Hennessy. And I can remember over here, I was like earwigging, and he went, listen, Froch ain't ready for him yet. This is a dangerous fight. Froch is still learning. I wasn't world champion at the time when I went out there. And I know that was a fight. And Rob definitely said, no, I don't want to fight. I don't want him to fight. I was sparring with Eastman. But it just shows how important it is, because if you take the wrong fight, if I'd have fought LeBron or Andrade then and maybe lost on points or got hurt, or maybe fought Adonis Stevenson and not got the win, these fighters the careers need guiding correctly, and you need a good coach or a good manager to pick and choose these fights. And we just talked about Fabio Wardley and Frazer Clarke there, so maybe that's a shrewd move, not sticking Clarke in with Wardley straight away.
All I heard out of that was how protected you were throughout your career. You dine out on this tough guy image. Can't fight anyone in wars. Look how strong, and you were just.
Hey, listen. As soon as
you were guided like a baby to the top of the tree.
Now, isn't it? As soon as Pascal, the dangerous young Pascal, who went on to become undisputed light heavyweight champion and beat the guy that no one wanted to fight, bad Chad Dawson, beat him.
Yeah.
And he beat Adrian DeCourneur actually for the WBC world title up at light heavyweight after I beat him. Then he beat Chad Dawson. I mean, as soon as I won the WBC world title against Jean Pascal in 2008 in Nottingham in front of 8,000 fans.
Live on ITV, don't forget.
Yeah, well, it was on ITV. Yeah, it was on ITV, that one. But they pulled out a boxing after that. But as soon as I boxed in, that was it.
Don't take the blame. Don't take the blame for that. That's not your fault.
No, of course.
Don't take the blame for that. I gotta say, I watched that fight. I watched that.
Blaming Ordinary Harrison the day for that. Or was that BBC?
No, that was Sky pay-per-view.
That was Sky pay-per-view. But before that, it was a BBC.
BBC. But your fight with Pascal, I was security for the X Factor, which was on ITV, and we all watched that in the reception. Your fight, loads of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the X Factor contestants. I can't remember who it was. What year was that?
2008.
2008. So it was
the Pascal fight. But after the Pascal fight, anyway, that was it. I was straight in the deep end then. For the rest of my career, I think I've won long time fight against what was his name? Yusuf Mack. That was the first defense.
Yeah, Yusuf. Yeah. Great story.
Yeah, that was it, mate. 14 killers back to back on the road, Cobra style.
But up
No
until
one's
that,
aren't anymore.
up until that point, though, you avoided all the dangerous fights like the plague. That's all I heard.
I'm losing you. Can we get Barry back? I'm losing you.
I know I am naturally this small, so I'm not shrinking. No, it's no, but it's true. It's all taking the fights at the right time. No, there's no.
Absolutely.
He's not. He's never thinking you can't beat those guys. But it's like you beat Adonis Stevenson for an eliminator. You're in the same spot where you are anyway. You don't move any closer, really. Some of those eliminators are just mag time fights. So
I think I'd have been too big and too strong for him, but you probably thought that anyway.
yeah, well, no, yeah, nobody. No, I'd fancy you to beat him. I think he makes too many mistakes. But I mean, either way, it's a hard fight that you don't need. I mean, you've already proved you had hard fights that you could tough it out. So like, you've ticked the boxes you need to tick. Why risk anything, an injury, anything, to not get over the line? So it is, how you manage a fighter is very important.
So Katie Taylor and Chantal Cameron fight this week. Barry, how do you see this one going?
It's an intriguing fight because, like, I'd fancy Taylor big because, the body of her work and how technically good she is. But I was ringside for her versus Serrano. I know she's had a fight since then, of course, in Wembley recently. But that fight versus Serrano was so physically draining, mentally draining. I think they're miles on the clock you can't get back. I worry about that. Like I worried about it before, how long she had such a long, hard career. Those two fights she had with Delphine Pursoon were wars. Lucky to get both wins, I thought.
I was going to say, how did you think they went? Did you think she won the first fight?
I thought she lost them both, actually. I thought she lost the first one and she was massively lucky. I thought the second one was a closer fight that I just favoured Pursoon, to be fair. But so I didn't argue about that. But I think the first one in Madison Square Garden.
I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that, to be honest.
No, but either way, we all get a bit of luck, and it worked for her favour and good for her. But I think I thought the Serrano fight was a hard fight too many. She was great that night. I mean, there's that iconic moment in the last round where a knee is inches off the floor. I mean, like that. And if a knee touches the floor in the last round, she gets a count and she loses the fight. And that inner strength, to get yourself up. You would know about this, Cal. The inner strength to rise off the floor like that, right, when you're out. You've done it.
I've got the canvas twice in my career to win. I know. George Groves.
I'm setting you up for this. I really am. I'm like,
I'm not going to talk too much around myself.
I'm like a little PR guy for you. And but like the way she just lifted her knee up there and won the fight was horrendous.
You think Katie Taylor is past her best now on the way down?
I think she's clearly past. Whether she's on her way down, but she's gone over the hill of her peak. I think that's for certain. Because
I think a massive part of her game is work rate and fitness. And
you see the speed in her punches has changed dramatically over the last few years. She would fire in blister when she got close to get out of trouble. She would fire in blistering combinations. Now those combinations have reduced in speed and in output dramatically. So what she does, Katie Taylor, she in and out with her feet and she throws 3 punches. Starts she's left-handed, right-handed. She starts with the right hand in an orthodox stance, and it's right, left, right. And then she takes a step out, makes you fall short, and comes back in.
In fact, yeah.
So you got
it works in the program over 2-minute rounds.
2-minute rounds, it works.
2-minute rounds
and 10 rounds as well. It works.
Yeah.
So Chantal Cameron, who boxed so well, to beat Jessica McCaskill over in Abu Dhabi in her last fight, she boxed great. Showed an intelligence I didn't think she had. Yeah, but she's going to be tested here mentally against Katie Taylor.
What do you think? What do you think is going to be the difference on the night? Are you picking Katie Taylor to win that one?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I think she'll just find out.
It's experience and fitness, or just the fitness and work rate and a bit of experience as well.
It's the bouncing and the rhythm in her work, back and forth with the feet, in and out with the feet. I think she'll draw. I think she'll pop the combinations fast, draw it in and out. If Chantal Cameron can land with a solid jab and step behind it and push her back with that jab, which will knock you off balance, then she has a chance to unsettle the rhythm of Katie Taylor. If she can't do that, I think Katie Taylor. What Katie Taylor does really well is those early rounds. She plays chicken because she doesn't do a lot, but she just keeps moving, and you can't land and she can't land.
Yeah,
right. But you panic first and you overcommit first. And you make the first mistake. And then once you make that
5 shots and then win the round.
Yeah, and when you make that mistake, even if she loses a few rounds, they're close rounds, but she makes you make the mistake first. And as those rounds go on, you start to think, oh, this is too close. And then you overcommit. And then those last sort of 5, 6 rounds, she goes to work then, and then she keeps that energy level. So you got to set a rhythm. Unsettling someone's rhythm a solid hard left-hand jab will do that. But it's hard to hit a target that keeps constantly moving. So I think Katie Taylor, I think it'll be competitive, but I don't think it'll be that close on the scorecards.
So there's another big fight happening this weekend. Haney versus Lomachenko. How do you feel like that's going to go, Barry?
It's a great fight. It's a fight that boxing needs. We're moaning about all these other things that are not happening, and we got a real super fight here. I do. Lomachenko's just a genius. One of my favorite fighters to watch. He's not a lightweight, and he hasn't been a lightweight. Even though he's been brilliant and one of the best ones, he's too small, I think. And I think Haney, who punches in straight lines, and that usually works for Lomachenko because he works around that straight angle. He can go to the left and the right really quick. But I think the discipline that Haney showed at beating Kambosos, certainly the second time, I think it's going to be too hard for Lomachenko to close the gap. And I'm gutted because he's such a brilliant athlete.
It's an unbelievable talent. I was, the fight with Teofimo Lopez, and he lost that one, Lomachenko. I always thought he was just unbeatable because his footwork and his movement is so good. Like you say, he's like a magician in the ring. It's just outstanding footwork. He danced at school, didn't he? He was like a dancer, and he was takes on from that. But a real athlete as well. But Devin Haney, young, ambitious, really confident. I reckon he's the favourite for this one. He's got to be. I reckon.
The problem you get with the movements is when you make a move at your natural weight, those movements on the target put a pressure on people. They put a panic on someone. But then when you're up against a physically bigger guy, he doesn't panic as much because the movement. He's not scared of the shot or the move, or he doesn't get intimidated by your feet.
Not worried too much about what's coming back at him. Yeah, I know
what you're
saying.
So not as much. Yeah, so they don't panic as much, and that's so like it's not as effective as you move up in weight. Of course, he's still brilliant, and he can. I wouldn't be shocked if he puts a clinic on against Devin Haney. But I do think that the neatness of the work, and I do think that he keeps his shape really well. Devin Haney, I do fancy him to get home. It'll be a close fight, and it might not be a great fight to watch.
Yeah, Lomachenko, do you think it could cause a real upset and maybe beat him up and then stop him quite badly and really get to him, Haney, with his size and his rhythm and his boxing?
I think that's a big ask. I do. I think he can hurt Lomachenko but I think Lomachenko can survive if he has to. I do think that because when you got footwork like he has, I think you can survive pretty much anything.
Yeah.
So I can see him being frustrated and having to commit himself and maybe getting caught. He's been knocked down before. Jorge Linares knocked him down. I know he stopped Linares in the end, but he knocked him down. So he can be hurt, he can be hit, but I don't see that, but I do think he'll be appointed.
But it's a great fight and one that most of the boxing purists, the boxing world, are really looking forward to. I'm going to be weighing up for that one, certainly.
So, did either of you get to watch the Misfits boxing at the weekend, and what did you both think of it?
I'll tell you what, I'd like to hear Barry's take on this, but I watched highlights of some of it. I watched the knockout of KSI and was it Joe Fournier? I think David Hayes boxed. He's his mate from Dubai anyway. So
he's my mate, Joe.
He landed with a massive elbow straight on the chin of KSI. It was a great shot. The referee obviously didn't see it. Big right elbow, I think it was. I mean, connected Froch as well. And before I let you talk about that and your old best mate, what did you make of them two Butterbean lookalikes? They were just big obese men, were they, that shouldn't have been in the ring? Like all bat hanging. They couldn't even throw punches. I just thought, what's going off? And when the referee waved it off, I think it was just a bit of I'm embarrassed to be refereeing this, so let's just finish it here and hopefully no one will remember it.
Are they YouTubers? Is that what this is about? Are they YouTubers?
They're misfits.
Yeah. Oh, not all. Most of them are YouTubers, but obviously Joe Fournier's not a YouTuber.
Yeah, they are.
But it's the whole Misfits thing I've got an issue with because they've labelled it. They're not saying that professional boxers, though Joe Fournier has been a professional boxer, but they don't they just labelled it something else.
Yeah, Phil was trying to say he's a professional boxer, but he
hasn't got a license, so he can't. Jake Paul can because he got a professional license, but he hasn't.
So they're all in the same kind of group. It's under that same umbrella, but now they're going next level. They're putting two beast geezers in there that can't even throw a punch. I mean, what do you think of the two? What do you think of the two big boys in there and swinging away at each other and then just getting stopped? Did you enjoy it? Was it pointless? Did you think it was embarrassing?
I'm not the demographic they're looking at. I won't watch that. I watched it because I've known Joe Fournier since he was 20 years of age. So he used to work for me as it goes, ironically. I sort of set him up into. I think I was the first one took him on the pads. So all this is my fault. And yeah, no, but either way, so I want to watch him because I want success for the kids. But he did. No, he was getting outboxed, to be honest, the first round and a bit. But he is he's physically strong, Joe. But he got caught with a forearm smash, clearly. So there's an issue there.
Forearm smash. Better than the elbow, doesn't it? The forearm smash.
It was a forearm smash. It was right in his face, but I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think KSI is good enough to do that.
No,
I don't think he's good enough. He's just swinging punches, isn't he? They technically
what do you make of the comment saying the fight should be now disqualified in a no contest?
Well, it should be a no. I think it should be a no contest, but I think that would be fair. But I don't think they can be disqualified because you've got to prove that he did it on purpose, and I don't think he has the boxing IQ or ability to do that. I just don't. And the problem he trains with MMA guys, so it looks very suspicious. But I don't think he's good enough to do that, and so I think it was just an accident. But it's not for me. It's not my. I like real boxing. I mean, but I watch it because I know Joe. But I got no issue with it. Those two big fellas, that's just dangerous. Like I think it's to put yourself through such a physical excursion as boxing. It's a real worry. People forget about getting hit. That whatever you are, but just because you're the same level
it's like they couldn't take any shots. The punches that they were throwing were so weak and out of balance, and their arms didn't look long enough in compared to the size of the body. They both look like weebles to me.
The worry about it is for me, right? Is that they go they're the same level. Forget about KSI and Joe. They actually train a bit better. The others, they're the same level. But
I didn't see the point of it, to be honest. They're two biggies and they're swinging away. Pointless.
But if they can't defend themselves, you're still in real danger. Yeah. You might just fight somebody else. You know what I mean? It's like you got a guy who doesn't know what he's doing against a guy, another guy who doesn't know what he's doing, and swinging shots at each other. You're hitting a target that doesn't know what to defend itself. That's a worry there. That's a worry about that because you don't have to be a boxer to be able to hurt somebody. Everyone can throw a punch. Everyone can swing an arm, and there's a lot of weight behind that. And actually, some of those swinging shots can be more dangerous than those punches down the line, of course. So it's a worry about that. But it's if people want to watch it, if there's a market for it, then it has to go on. But I think Joe Fournier, it should be a no contest. He wasn't knocked out with a shot. I don't blame the referee because it's an instant reaction like that, and we get to watch it 20 times before we see. I kept watching it. Was there a glove that hit him first? But you get different. Luckily with TV, you get a different angle of it, and
it wasn't a blatant foul. He threw a right hand. He landed half and missed with the glove, but then the elbow really followed through. I mean, it looked like he knew what he was doing with that elbow as it came around. But if you're training with MMA fighters, then they do throw the forearm smash, as you say, and the elbow does go in, doesn't it? So maybe he threw it.
I don't think he's good enough to know what he's doing, though, to do that. I think there's a lot of thought to go into doing that and a risk.
We do KSI.
What's that? But KSI is not good enough. Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm 50 almost, right?
Well,
and I look 60, and I'm 5'7".
If you knock your drink out your hand at the bar, if you do him, what would you be like? Quick, get Froch. What would you be doing?
I don't know. I'd ask him politely to pick it up. With his face, like probably.
With his face.
Pick that up with your face.
That's the very
what are you going to do? I would listen. I don't think he would beat me now. He's bigger than me, so but I don't think so. But they're not looking to fight you. They're not looking to things, Cal. They're not looking to fight you. They're not looking to fight boxers. So I don't mind it. They're looking to fight other people. He's looking to box Jake Paul, who's a boxer but not really a boxer, and he got to admit that. Or he's looking to box another YouTuber, and so good luck to him. I don't know why we talk about it. To be honest, the thing is, he gets muddled in with boxing. It's almost a separate sport. You don't hear football pundits talk.
I totally agree with that.
100%. You don't hear football pundits talking about soccer sixes or England versus the rest of the world celebrity matches. They don't talk about that. I don't know why we let them do their own thing. As long as nobody gets hurt, then it's fine. That's the only worry is when somebody gets hurt, we'll get the blame. Boxing will get the blame. That's the only worry I have.
I think Foreigner got hurt with that forearm smash.
I mean seriously hurt. Seriously hurt. You know what? No, I hope it never happens. But no, if something happens like that, boxing will get the blame for it. That's the only worry that I have. But apart from that, listen, doing white collar boxing, I've trained people to do it. I've refereed my friend. You know, I helped train my friend and Ian Wright, who were best mates. They box each other. I trained them, me and my other mate, we trained them for it, and I refereed the fight. And it was great. It was a bucket list for people to do it. But it's in an enclosed, but that was never going to be too taxing. I was never going to let one of those get hurt. And in this,
this YouTube stuff's very much entertainment, very much selling a package and a product on there. And is it on pay-per-view? I think it is. And they're putting big shows on in decent size arenas. So that they're trying to make it go to the next level. But when they serve up that kind of the rubbish that was on there at the weekend, I just think it's a lost cause. They need the big names like Jake Paul and KSI to carry it, but still to fight somebody. I've got no interest.
But so does boxing. Boxing needs big names. We all need a big name to carry it. Now we need heavyweight champions of the world who are charismatic to help the sport. It trickles down the weights. It helps the sport. That's how it works. And by the way, I'm not a fan of the Misfits boxing, but I would work on one tomorrow if they give me the chance to work on it, because I need money.
So, Carlos Islanders, if you're listening, and Fournier, your old pal, Barry Jones.
Yeah, man.
Get him on the Misfits.
I should do the rematch. I should train him for the rematch, to be honest. That should be the truth of it. You know what I mean?
Right, Barry, we've had such good fun talking to you today, but we're running out of time, so we're going to leave it for another time. The rest of the questions, we'll do in a couple of weeks' time if you're happy to come back on.
Do you know what, mate? I will come on, and I'll even wear the same clothes. How's that?
Sounds good to me, mate. So this has been Froch on Fighting. Thanks, Barry, and we'll see you again soon.